Comic book fans are fired up for the upcoming launch of Zatanna's new solo series by Jamal Campbell. Zatanna received lots of love in 2024 with her miniseries Zatanna Bringing Down the House by writer Mariko Tamaki, artist Javier Rodriguez, and letterer Hassan Otsmane-Elhaou. I hope I pronounced that right. This Black Label series was a great rendition for the character of Zatanna, and it really leaned heavily on the chaos that is magic in the DC universe. However, this was an Elseworld story in the same vein as many other Black Label series. So when it comes to main continuity, what's Zatanna been up to prior her new solo run? Well, let me get you caught up with the Mistress of Magic's latest escapades. Like many others, Zatanna was caught up in the middle of Amanda Waller's conflict with superheroes in DC's 2024 summer event, Absolute Power, by Mark Waid, then Mora, Alejandro Sánchez, and Ariana Maher. When Amanda Waller announced herself to the world as the true savior, and I'm using air quotes here, for humanity, Zatanna was standing there, shoulder to shoulder with the members of Justice League Dark. Once the so-called Trinity of Evil launched their attack on metahumans around the world, there were just a few that escaped. That handful of people became the only hope for any sort of resistance against Amanda Waller. As you can see, Zatanna was one of them. We got to see Waller's task force search, locate, and try to apprehend Zatanna. With the help of Mercy, she managed to get away and travel to the Fortress of Solitude, where Superman and others were gathered, looking for ways to fight back, of course. The main issue the heroes were facing was transportation. There was no way to get anywhere without being spotted by Task Force 7, the elite unit of Amazons that stole the powers from the likes of Superman, Wonder Woman, and others, including magical beings like the Spectre. Safe to say, avoiding these androids was crucial for their survival. The Mistress of Magic had a solution for this problem. The secret passages Zatanna used to travel, called the Dark Roads. Invisible to almost everyone, no need to know magic to use them. If the heroes can access these roads, they will be able to travel, transport, and operate in the shadows. Zatanna for the win. All they needed was the map of the Dark Roads. Where could this map be found? Where else than the Oblivion Bar? So Zatanna took Superman to it as backup, because Kal-El is that guy with or without powers. I will elaborate on this. Once in the Oblivion Bar, Kal-El, the Boy Scout in blue, crashed out on everyone at the bar. Superman realized that magical creatures, beings, and people were hiding inside the Oblivion Bar to avoid the conflict with Amanda Waller. This was unacceptable to Superman, who saw heroes try to fight back, to include his very own son, who was captured and being used by the Brainiac Queen as a puppet. The Man of Steel was very disappointed with everyone at the bar. After scolding all the magic folks, Superman and Zatanna ran into this devilish gentleman called Neron. Neron had the map to the Dark Roads, and he was willing to give it up to help the cause. W for Neron. But there was a catch. I mean, that's understandable. Neron was still a devil after all. So, what did Neron want? Oh, nothing much. Just for Superman to lie. More specifically, to lie for Neron. The Man of Steel would have to betray himself by lying. Against the warnings and objections from Zatanna, Superman agreed to Neron's deal. Quick parenthesis here. Some folks pointed out that when Superman said he would lie for Neron, that was the lie. So therefore, Superman already fulfilled his part of the deal. And if we read the text with that in mind, I guess it kind of makes sense. But I was hoping it's not as simple as that, because it will be interesting to see Neron in the future returning to collect that life from Superman. Imagine the stakes. That's a more compelling story in my opinion. End of parenthesis. Following the transaction with Neron, Zatanna and Superman took to the dark roads. Zatanna had the great idea of traveling the multiverse to recruit heroes from other worlds to come help them. Pretty smart, right? All your heroes and metas lost their powers? Go find other metas from other universes. Simple enough, easy peasy. Unfortunately, Zatanna was suffering the consequences of using the map of the dark roads. The number one rule of magic is that it always has a cost, and the map was no different. The problem was the cost was magic. The map siphons magic from whoever is using it. Since Zatanna didn't have any magic thanks to the Amazons, the map was pulling her life force instead. This moment of vulnerability for both heroes gave us an insight to Zatanna's mind. Superman tried telling Zatanna to not overexert herself. He said, Z, listen, don't worry, we will get your magic and everyone's powers back. You know, you're much more than your magic. But Zatanna didn't share that nice sentiment. To her, Zatanna is not a mantle or a moniker. Zatanna is who she is. You see, the Man of Steel is Superman, Clark Kent, and even Kal-El. All of these personas form his identity. He gets to wear all these hats. Zatanna doesn't navigate life as different people. She's always Zatanna, on stage, off stage, backstage, in a mission, or just chilling at home. Basically, magic is at the core of Zatanna as a person. When Waller took her magic, it took a big part of who she is. So yeah, it's kinda deep for the Mistress of Magic. Later, they made their way to the House of Heroes, a headquarters for heroes that watch over the multiverse. Unfortunately, Zatanna's idea of recruiting heroes from another universe was great, but she wasn't the only one who thought of it. Not only Waller had the same idea and worked it into her plan B, Waller also beat them to the House of Heroes by sending her Amazons to remove them from the chessboard. Long story short, this villain called Confusion was still lurking around the House of Heroes, so they had to bail out. They jumped back on the dark roads to make it back to the Fortress of Solitude. Now Zatanna gets to work in transporting people back and forth. For example, we go to Wonder Woman number 13. Trevor, Damian, and Diana were on a mission to rescue heroes from Amanda Waller's detention facility. Thanks to Diana's heroics, Trevor and Damian were able to break the prisoners out, and they were itching to fight back. Once everyone was freed, Zatanna made her appearance from the dark roads and transported everyone to safety. From there, we jump back to the absolute power main issues. Nightwing, the leader of the resistance, appreciated Zatanna's efforts of moving their forces back and forth through the dark roads so far. Likewise, for their last stand, all the heroes were taking the fight directly to Amanda Waller. Every able and willing body marched towards the fight of their lives. For the third or maybe the fourth time, Dick Grayson rallied the troops with an inspiring pep talk. They had the element of surprise, and they were going to use it to return Waller the favor. And so, they jumped into battle seemingly out of nowhere. That, my comic book nerds, was the extent of Zatanna's impact in the Absolute Power event. Following the downfall of Waller, the Brainiac Queen and Failsafe, for the third time, I think it is, I don't know, Failsafe just keeps coming back. DC announced through the Trinity the return of the Justice League. This was a big deal. The League had been deactivated since the Dark Crisis event. Let me say that again. There was no Justice League in comics for over a year in real time. So they celebrated their return in the DC All-In special. Everyone and anyone you can think of was present, including the Mistress of Magic, Zatanna herself. Sadly, the celebrations were short-lived. All magical beings and Hal Jordan were turned into megaphones to announce the evil that was on its way. Now that I think about it, The fact that it was all magic users or wielders plus Hal Jordan should have been a dead giveaway that the Spectre has something to do with this. The Watchtower was assaulted by Darkseid, Mr. Bad Guy and evil personified with a sprinkle of the powers of the wrath of God. Yes, you heard that right. Darkseid had now the powers of the Spectre. There were Omega beams flying everywhere and reality gaps opening and closing. While everyone jumped on Darkseid, the magic users joined to create something that could counter the damage Darkseid was causing. Zatanna made her way to Superman to provide him with some sort of protection against magic so he could fight Darkseid. This fight was never destined to be won though. Despite everyone's best efforts, Darkseid wasn't even fighting them. In his eyes, he was fighting the Spectre for the truth. What truth? Well, the truth about the theory of Darkseid being an avatar, but since the multiverse was closed off, all Darkseid's essence was now consolidated into one. Darkseid seemingly dissipated from existence after learning this truth. However, Darkseid did not die. He just traveled to a young universe and molded in his image. This is now the Absolute Universe. You can follow what is happening in this universe, in this new world, in Absolute Wonder Woman by Kelly Thompson, Absolute Batman by Scott Snyder, and Absolute Superman by Jason Aaron. Since the All-In special, the Justice League has been fighting the good fight. Just as in the name, the Justice League is playing with an unlimited roster. Depending on the situation, they deploy teams with the required skills, abilities, and powers to address the problem. Zatanna, for example, is part of the magical and or supernatural company of heroes. There she is, doing her thing. That is the extent of the highlights of Zatanna Zatara up to this date. What is Jamal Campbell cooking for us in the upcoming run? Well, I'm going to find out on February 19 when issue number 1 drops. Like I said in the beginning, the miniseries from the Black Label imprint is a lot of fun and an overall great read, but that was out of continuity. Still, I do recommend it for everyone to check it out. With that being said, my name is Jancy, aka Year of the Collector. I want to thank you for watching. You have a blessed day and remember to read more comics.